provide technical assistance with local fisheries groups. We work with DG Mare on the one side, but
pesca y, cómo no, con los grupos de acción local, que son con los que con sus estrategias implementan este desarrollo local participativo. ¿Cómo lo hacemos? Bueno, por una parte,
we organize different congresses and events, thematic seminars, both in Brussels and also transnational, cross-national. We also prepare monthly newsletters where we try to provide you with interesting data for the Gulf and also good practices, because many of our activities are focused on disseminating outcomes and initiatives. As I said, we work with 349 Gulp. We work with 19 member states of the European Union with fisheries interests, and the average budget is 2 million euros. This is 10% of the fisheries and maritime fund. And even if we are specializing in tourism, we have some experience, because 41% of the fisheries action groups included as one of their 5 main priorities in their strategies. This Pescatourism concept is included in 33% of the strategies. And this new term why should we put together the terms pesca, fisheries, and tourism? For those of us who come from the sea, and we know already all the advantages of living nearby the sea, the nature, the landscapes, the coast, all the activities related to fisheries, the consumption of fish and seafood. And in Spain, you already know all the advantages of tourism. It generates a lot of income, also jobs, and especially not just that tourism of sun and the sea, but this kind of tourism adds value to the territory and gives recognition to this activity. As for pescatourism, there are so many advantages, such as the additional income for fishermen, the new jobs generated, the added value for these areas, the promotion of local consumption of fisheries products. It gives visibility to the sector and boosts the work with other agents of the area. Fishermen belong to the public life of the community. There is no more competitiveness for the existing resources. The mass tourism is reduced, and also it prevents the income from being away from this area. But there are some challenges too. On the one hand, the resistance by fishermen who have to worry about other services instead of fishing. The legal framework for them, the bureaucracy which cannot be prevented, all the security and safety measures that need to be fulfilled, taxes, training. And as for regulations, currently there are five countries in the European Union with regulations that permit pescatourism. I'm talking about Italy, France, Spain, Greece, and Cyprus. There are 7 countries that do not forbid it, but they don't have either a specific legislation for it. And there are 8 countries that forbid it specifically. The safety regulations and the access to these activities and the tax conditions are the main issues here. Marine and pescatourism in Italy are quite traditional, and the first activities related to pescatourism go back to 1980s, to the 1980s. The first national regulation is from 1999, and Italy is divided into regions like Spain, so the legislation depends on the different regions, and it's applied in a different way depending on the area. The legislation was the result of a reality, and there are 2 different tourist offers depending on what the fisherman can offer. ET tourism is the tourist offer given by fishermen on land. This includes staying, the accommodation at the fisherman house, visit to the area and local restaurants, and then we have pescatourism, which includes fishing with the fishermen. In Spain, as I said, the legislation is from the 5th of April of 2019, and it sets the conditions for the development of the pescatourism activity. It is an activity for economic diversification, and it regulates the conditions and requirements to access this maritime activity, and also the conditions of safety that need to be met. Also, the maritime authority of the area is the one who has to give permission, and that means some inequalities because there are some areas in which the reports are more restrictive, and therefore the authorities decide not to carry out these activities. I would like to talk about an example of a local company from Valencia. It's called Trip and Feel, and it's specialized in the adaptation of vessels for pescatourism. They are starting to have many projects in Valencia, and they are doing it through this company. They also train the fishermen who decide to start this activity. They also carry out the marketing and offer different services in such a way that pescatourism can be implemented in the area. I would also like to talk about another case of legislation, which would be the one in Cyprus. The legislation is from May 2019, and it's quite interesting because the approach of pescatourism in Cyprus is a sustainable tourist activity. It's not just at a social level. Fishermen can continue their activities without stopping the cultural part, and also from an environmental point of view. The WWF Mediterranean carried out a dissemination campaign focused on promoting these activities because they don't want to increase the fishing capacity and they want to keep artisanal fisheries, which is more sustainable. From the passing of this legislation, the Larnaca and Famagusta Gulf created a official training program in marketing and pescatourism, similar to one that was being already implemented in Creta. And now I would like to talk about the Mediterranean. Blue Seeds is a project which is very interesting. It has 12 flags in Greece, Italy, Spain, Cyprus, and Croatia. They are trying also to convince some French ones to join, and they want to study the economic possibilities available in protected marine areas. They carry out field trips, and fishermen are the main stakeholders here who want to establish protected areas that guarantee a long-term stock, and so they can study how these spaces are compatible with the exploitation and economic development of the area. This picture was from the first meeting of the project, and even if it's being carried out in France, the leader is Greece, but they had to stop it because of the coronavirus. But they are in the island of Jarus in Greece, and the natural protection status is quite high, so they consider that one of the possibilities to make this status compatible with the preservation of the environment and tourist activities was with sustainable activities, with routes in fishing vessels, so the flora and fauna of the area was valued. When they can start having meetings again, they will continue with all the territories of the flags. Then in Northern Ireland, we have diving our islands with 6 flags from Greece and Cyprus, and the idea was to promote sustainable diving. It involved different local stakeholders, diving associations, and the diving areas could be identified, and the preservation of biodiversity is promoted. So also the impact of the activities on the area was analyzed. So the people who go there every day can get involved and they can really explain what's going on before anything happens. Then going back to Pescatourism, this is a project that is being carried out right now. It involves 20 flags in Greece, and they decided to come together to understand and study the possibility of implementing pescatourism in Greece through field trips to Italy, a country that, as I said, has a long tradition in this field. Also, the financing possibilities, training to fishermen, etc. And it was also a way of guaranteeing that fishermen were involved in the creation of the legal framework to regulate pescatourism. they are going the ones who will have to implement it, so involving them is very interesting. And finally, I would like to end with this good practice. It comes from a country that is quite similar to Galicia, which is Ireland. And the weather is complicated there. It may rain in winter, in summer, but it was also a very interesting area from a touristic point of view, uh, because it was the only place in Ireland where sharks could be fished or caught. These rights were reduced, and therefore the tourism also was reduced. So, from the northwest of Ireland, there was this project with a local company to make the most of a space they had in the Achill Islands. They created a aquarium with the fishermen of the area, who also saw how their fishing rights were reduced. And what they wanted to do was to put the species that could be seen when diving in the area in this aquarium. It was so successful that it was the only indoor activity in that rainy area. So the flag had to finance a second project, which is a museum about the cultural heritage of the island from a maritime and fishing point of view. And the fishermen, who are the ones who provide the species, they also manage how it works. They organize trips with the schools, and this also created 6 new jobs that were occupied by people from the area. And finally, I would like to finish with some conclusions. First, at European level, the development of pescatourism is a recurring priority in the flags. It is a classic diversification activity, especially in southern countries. We need a legal framework to support the development of this practice, and the fishing communities can be involved in its development. And finally, marine tourism and pescatourism are a good way of cooperating between the flags at both national and cross-national levels. And now, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marta. I was following your speech, and if anybody wants to ask a question, you can take advantage from her. And yes, we've got a question over there.
El caballero pregunta que por qué está en
Yes.
contra de los otros
So,
8 países.
what are you
¿Por qué están en
against
contra?
the other,
Supongo que
the other eight
fundamentalmente
countries?
no conozco
What
la
are
situación de
they
cada uno de
against
los estados.
this
Normalmente
activity? I don't know in
principal
all
rechazo que se
of the
tiene
countries, but normally
es
the
por motivos de
reaction
seguridad.
is mainly by
De hecho,
safety, due to
en los países que
safety
cuentan con una legislación es que el punto principal a
terms,
cubrir es
because
las condiciones de seguridad y
the
habitabilidad que debe tener un buque para poder recibir
habitability
turistas a bordo.
and
Es decir, un buque pesquero no es un
safety
buque de recreo, no está
conditions
preparado
of
para
fishing
recibir
vessels
turistas
are an issue, and
y
many
conlleva un riesgo.
times,
Conlleva un
well,
riesgo
this
que, por ejemplo, los países que no tienen
involves a
legislación en
risk,
absoluto, pues
and
es porque
if
mayoritariamente
those
los pescadores
countries
no les compensa
are not
realizar
regulating about that or
este tipo de
against that,
actividades.
it is because for fishermen it is not affordable to put their vessels accordingly.
Sí.
We apologize from the booth, but we cannot hear what the person is saying
Bueno,
at the
no es tan
microphone,
así, es más
so
bien la
we cannot
adaptación de los buques
interpret the
pesqueros
question.
para que reúnan estas
It is
condiciones.
not
Y como
that.
he
It
dicho,
is
además, las
just
condiciones
the
de seguridad pueden variar.
adaptation of the
Dependiendo de
fishing
este informe
vessels.
de
And
Capitanía Marítima,
these
se pueden requerir
conditions are very
unas situaciones que a
varied.
lo mejor en
It
otra
really
localidad no.
depends on
Entonces,
the
esta empresa
harbor's master's
básicamente
office.
se especializa en
So
estudiar qué es
there
lo
is this
necesario a
company
reunir por los buques
specialized
para llevar a
in
cabo este tipo de
studying
actividad
what are the requirements for
y
the vessels
asesorar
to be
a
able
los pescadores para que lleven a cabo
to
estas reformas.
undergo these activities, and then to
Bueno, casi se
advise
oye
about
de viva
how
voz, no
to
sé si...
prepare it.
Ah, es cierto.
Tenemos otra pregunta. El
We've
caballero
got
pregunta
another
que
question.
por qué, si Fomento lleva a nivel nacional todo el
If
marco
there is a
regulatorio, ¿por qué varía
ministry
de unas comunidades a
about
otras?
Como he dicho, dentro
in charge of regulation, why is it
del
different
decreto
in
se
every
estipulaba, por una
region?
parte,
Well, in this
que las
decree,
comunidades
as I said,
autónomas, por ejemplo,
on
también
the one
podían
hand,
regular
the
un
regions
título
could
habilitante, es
also
decir, tuviera unas
regulate
nuevas condiciones.
certification.
Y después
So
sujetaban
this implies
la realización de la actividad, la
some
implementación de la
requirements,
actividad a este
and
informe
then
favorable. Es por eso que varía. Hay
it
algunos informes,
also
como he dicho,
this
que son más
report,
restrictivos
which depends
que
on the
otros.
harbor's
Y aunque
master's
está permitido a nivel
office,
nacional, es decir, dependiendo de las condiciones
they
que
are
haya,
really
no todos los
different,
pescadores
and
quieren implementar
so
estas actividades porque
they
ya no les
depend on the
compensa, porque
conditions
la demanda, mejor dicho, que van a
established
tener
by
no es tan elevada.
this
No sé si te he
report
respondido a
and
tu
in this port or
pregunta.
harbor specifically. But I wanted to be there with you and participate in this first conference. I think this is very important to be implemented, and this should be also enlarged. And we, from the Secretary of the Fisheries from the Spanish Ministry, we want, on the one hand, we want to foster sustainability, and on the other hand, diversification. And diversification, of course, should also be done within the triple criteria sustainable framework. So that means social, economic, and environmental sustainability. So as we've seen, the activity of the fisheries, of fishing, has been traditionally linked to the territories, and it is the base of sustainability. So we think that as a way of acknowledging the work made by the local communities, we from the administration should promote and support the management of those activities so that fishing can be sustainable and can maintain their population and their development in the coastal areas. Regarding the diversification, our central administration has already done many progresses since the modification of the fisheries regulation in 2014, and Pescatourism was introduced back then. So, and afterwards, in 2019, there was a royal decree, in which the conditions of pescatourism that should be, and especially in this regulation, there are the conditions and requirements that must be met. But the people doing this activity, I might disagree, I'm afraid, because I think that there are the same conditions to all the Spanish territory. Of course, the harbors, masters, offices, interpretations can be different, but they are the common basis so that any fishing vessel know which are the conditions and requirements that should be done and invested so that they can be safe for the people, the passengers going on board in those vessels to observe the fishing activities, which is the main goal, actually. On the other hand, we are also supporting financially, thanks to the European Maritime and Fisheries Fund. They support marine tourism, especially through gulps, and we think that gulps are working wonderfully in this area. We also have reference, which is the development of economy, because that's the main goal, and these are also parts of blue economy. So we think that we are really complying with the publication by the Commission, the EU with the Economic and Social Committee, the European Parliament, and the European Council. There was a strategy that establishes the fostering profitability and maximizing funding by the EU and increase sustainability. In the current framework, which goes until this year, and the Secretary of Fisheries is a management authority and is being financially managed by the regions and supporting by their calls. We understand that this is one of the most important activities regarding diversification. We think that we should invest to promote sustainable development in the coastal areas, increasing the value of the fishing activities. And which is the current situation? We have 33 projects with the community-led local development groups, and there is a huge quantity of investment assigned to that, and this diversification is part of one of the priorities too. So we think that in the next budget we will also have this promotion and support through the flags, obviously, but the EU regulation hasn't been approved, but the German presidency has done many progresses to get it approved during this last quarter or in the next presidency for next year. And this operative program will be applicable for the next period. So we are being focused on the priority number one, which is sustainable fishing, but we will also be focusing on the community-led local development. And we want to take advantage from these funds for the next period from 21 on until 27. It will be more open, and anyway, I think that with these principles we will be able to keep on supporting the flags and trying to open these strategies and enlarge it towards other areas and regions. We know that in Galicia, thanks to the Minister of Fisheries of the regional government of Galicia, that wasn't the case in other regions of Spain, and we think that we should promote it also there. And we want to create synergies, and this is a challenging thing, but we want to have groups that might be enlarged or that could be translated into other activities, even outside of the region they were they were developed in the beginning. So we want to take advantage from these ideas, and this is so important for us. And for that purpose, the Secretariat of Fisheries from the Ministry of Agriculture and Sea in Spain, we've created a platform for the interchanging of projects, and I think that we can work together so that we can have local action groups from different regions working together. Also, in these flags, it is very important that the fishermen's associations are involved. This good development that has been made in Galicia should be also done in other regions, and because the fishermen's associations can offer ideas and suggestions, and the flags should take the message, and we also should try to incorporate the artisanal fishing coastal people to get more and more involved. So that's all for me. I think that I hope that your conclusions are your sharing of knowledge will help us all. Thank you very much. She is the Director of Tourism of Galicia from the Regional Government of Galicia. Good afternoon to you all, to the Director General of Fisheries. We say hello to him from here, and to other people present here, obviously, to the Director, the Minister, and the General Director, and to you all. And I'd like to say hello to all people following us here and online. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the invitation to be here in the official opening session of this conference, especially in these hard times for everybody all over the world due to this crisis that is forcing us to reformulate all of our initiatives and strategies. And that's why I think that it is very positive that lives go on and business go on, and activity from the fishing sector, from the tourism sector has to go on as you are now doing. So, because we need to analyze the present and the future of the sector thanks to this Congress. So I'd like to say that we are very proud of the work that has been done by all the flags, to all the coastal action groups, because you are working so hard and so much. And I like to congratulate for the first panelist for their wonderful, simple and straightforward presentation. And also thanks to the director, that before that decree, we were really looking forward to that decree, because there were many activities that weren't regulated, and we were supporting them, but we didn't have that legal framework, so we really welcome that decree. And from the Department of Tourism, we are informing about those activities that are complementing the fishing activity, and that's the best way to respect sustainability. And especially with this community, there is really a very active community that we have in the coastal areas. And the projects that you will be seeing are really, really interesting, and they cover all around the coast that goes around Galicia. I think that it is not necessary that we have 1,700 kilometers of coast, more than 900 beaches. We have 16 rias or special estuaries like fjords that there are in Galicia. And we have hundreds of municipalities that are close to the sea. So we have to work on this way. We have to keep on working on this track. And I think that it is very positive that we can learn from these best practices that we will be seeing, or maybe pilot projects, but they can give ideas to other countries and regions, and obviously coordination is fundamental. So I offer my cooperation for all the groups and the Minister of the Sea from the regional government of Galicia. All the initiatives have made us feel very proud. I think we are the most innovative communities and pioneer, and we can be proud of that, but we don't want to just rest. We want to keep on working and improving, and I'd like to share with you the confidence and the trust on the safety that we have, the health safety. We were the fifth community in demand in tourism regarding the other regions in Spain, and we are complying with all the safety requirements, the health requirements. And I want to say that life goes on, the economic activity goes on, and that's the same for fishing and for tourism. So that's all for me. Thank you for the invitation, and I encourage you to keep on working on this way, because this is good, the good way. And we have the Jubilee of St. Jacques, and we have a route which is the Arousa Maritime Sea Way to Santiago. So thank you very much, and welcome to you all.
The regional minister, Ms. Rosa Maria Quintana Carballo, closes the opening ceremony. Thank you very much. I would like to say congratulations to our delegate, because only 2 days after being appointed as delegate of the regional ministry, that you spend this afternoon with us. So I love Nava. What can I say about Nava? She could also be part of the regional ministry of the sea, and it's great working with her, both from tourism and the regional ministry. We can say in front of the entire world that we have been successful in so many ways, because you are promoting Galicia all around the world. And well, I would like to welcome all of you. I see Josalito, our president of the federation in Pontevedra, and also people from Aldan, so many people who are here, well, who are so, all our friends, and all of you who are not here, but who are watching us. Ignacio, it's a pity you're not here. I know you are following us, but I hope you can come soon. So good afternoon to all of you. It's a pleasure for all of us to welcome you in Galicia, both those of you who can be here and those of you who, because of this pandemic, have to follow us on streaming. So sharing this first International Congress on Marine Tourism and Pescatourism of the project Mar das Illas. If you know the evolution of this project that started only 3 years ago, I'm convinced that you will see this is the first Congress, but it won't be the last one because this group is working so much. They believe in the project and they drag all of us with them. So I think the team of this flag, Ria de Pontevedra, is following all the safety and health uh, measures here, and they are bringing us together to work together to consolidate the marine tourism. I think we can make the most of this Congress to think about the things that we already know and also to learn so many new things. I would like to thank Marta from Farnet, the great speech that she gave. I had the I am learning also from the experiences of other countries, and well, thank you very much. All of us love tourism, and we buy and sell tourism. We all use it. We enjoy it. In Galicia, as Nava said, we know a lot about tourism, but I am especially proud of the knowledge that we have about our sea. A sea that we have been living from for so many centuries. And also, not just because of fisheries, but also because of all the jobs that are surrounding it. Time has demonstrated that the fishing and economic context has changed, and we have adapted to it, always taking into account the importance of preserving our maritime heritage. So we need to open the doors to the economic diversification in coastal areas to fill the sea of the future. Mar das Ilhas is a space to create new sources of income and also new job opportunities. So Mar das Ilhas is a space with economic value where we bring together the economy and the sea, and this project has permitted to create new sources of income, stable jobs, and increase the value of our fishing resources, and to inform the people about how we work in the sea. It has also improved the life of fishermen because they are the ones who can really show the beauty of our sea and the activity. We currently have more than 150 professionals trained, and we will increase these figures. This is something that demonstrates something that we already knew. Tourism is a fundamental economic activity for our land, but also for our sea, especially nowadays with this economic uncertainty when we need all the material and human resources to move on. So we need to make the most of this opportunity. It is an opportunity to improve, to reach economic growth, and to increase the security and confidence of Galicia. Fishermen and women have so much to provide and contribute to the sector, to the tourist sector. They are part of this economic future, and it also increases their self-esteem. So we would like to thank you for all the initiatives that put together fisheries and tourism. I know that the Galicia has so much to offer, and this Congress is a great opportunity, and we want to support this kind of events because all of this is going to help to gain a better future. I hope This Congress will help to value and increase the potential of this fisheries sector within tourism. And I would like to thank you very much. Congratulations. And I know you will make the good way from Galicia. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon to you all again. Good afternoon. Now I will be introducing myself and introducing to you the project Mardasillas, Island Sea. We wanted to talk to you about the development and the results of the project. I am the manager of the flag of Pontevedra. My name is Laura Nieto Zas, and we were the coordinators of this project. So the beginning and the motivation of this project was FARNET, the European network that has the fisheries areas network that has put us together, and we were always listening to pescatourism and fishing tourism. They weren't new to us because we had already had experiences of pescatourism and fishing tourism, but there wasn't any regulation. In 2015, however, we were invited to participate in an international cooperation project promoted by Sardinia Orientale, and it really made us think that that was a good idea. In those workshops in Sardinia, and we were very well accompanied, we could get to know other initiatives made by these groups to develop the initiatives. And since 2017, we decided to start our own project. This project, Mardasillas, is aiming at promoting fishing diversification and promoting marine tourism in the collective of fishermen and fisherwomen and shellfish catchers in the Rías Baixas in Galicia, especially in the Sea Land National Park of Galicia. We are here in the northwest of the Iberian Peninsula. We are close to Portugal. You can see our coast follows the Portuguese one. And we have these big estuaries and these valleys of the rivers that were defended by these islands that are part of this sea land park that I mentioned before, that names our project. In this space of the Ria de Pontevedra has motivated this project. Ria de Arousa, Ria de Pontevedra, Ria de Vigo Aguarda, and the national park that has always cooperated with us. And I'd like to thank publicly to José Antonio Fernández Bouzas, the director of this park, that was always supporting us during the stages of this project. We also had other partners and cooperators, such as the Province Federation of the Fishermen Associations of Pontevedra, and also Mar Segura Association, which has to do to sea safety. And we were very concerned about the safety of the vessels when regarding tourism. And finally, this project started, actually, because when you think of starting a new project of cooperation, you always try to have always a goal in mind. And our goal was to join together the tourism and the fishing industry. And the fishing sector is not has not such a big importance, but it does have this importance in many coastal municipalities. So we thought that we should create this project, Sillas. This is 3 projects in one, actually. It has a unique goal, but it has different targets. The first was, it started as a network for supporting professionals of Pescatourism. Then in 2018, a year later, the professionals asked us to enlarge it, incorporating other contents regarding sustainability and best practices. And a year after, we were asked to create a new call that was focusing to the development of initiatives in pescatourism. I will be presenting to you these initiatives, the reason and the goals of this development. So during the first project, our main target was to present and to promote the tourist activities. So we started with training activities. We thought that that was the best beginning for this kind of project. Then we made the first course of initiation for tourism in marine sector, and this was a very good course, and it was very well received. And we had this marine guide for marine tourism. We had 36% of women taking part in this training, and with the documents we wrote a manual for starting in this marine tourism sector. We also thought that it was important to hear all the institutions involved in the authorization and regulation of marine tourism and pescatourism. That's why we organized a technical day, a technical conference in 2018, and we also have the support of the Secretary General of Fisheries at a regional level, and also with the Ministry of Fishing at regional level too, and especially with the municipality and the RIA of Vigo. There was a concern by the fishermen about how this would really affect them, and especially also to the national park. And we closed the conference with examples of best practices or other examples involved in tourism and others, especially in pescatourism. This led to 2 results. On the one hand, we had a high participation of the people that had already been trained because they had taken the previous course, and they were saying that they were disappointed because they missed the regulation that was missing, and that they really wanted, because they wanted to initiate the marine tourism activities. But on the other hand, they were also very inspired by all the stories that were told and shared there. With these activities, we started a network, a technical network with people from several and diverse administrations that were involved in these activities. And we are really grateful to them because they've been advising us very wisely. And finally, Marta Sillas has also involved a communication activity, a web page, a site where to publish the results, the community management. And this is very important for make the project visible, but for us to reach the sector was to talk to them directly, to have door-to-door meetings, almost, or well, harbor to harbor or port to port, that could be said, really, because we were meeting the associations, the several flags, and they were really involved in the dissemination of the project and all the people that really opened the doors to us so that the initiative could reach the sector. I think that that's the secret of the success of this project. And when the project ended, the sector says, and now what? And so now we have to, you have to keep on doing things. And we want to do more things. We want to keep on working with these tourist activities. And that's why we had Marta Sillas too. So we had more contents. And that's how we started this new training course of enlarging knowledge. And the first course on fishing and sustainable tourism, 38% women in the sector of the National Natural Park. We also had people that were demanding this GUI certification. So we had 60 participants, 46% women, in this second training course. And we were also organizing activities, an entrepreneurship guide for tourism, marine tourism. We also had a best practices guide that were made with the Association of Fishermen, and also a best practices code in marine tourism and pescatourism that is disseminated in all the Fishermen's Association. And you can also read them in our webpage. And so we finished the project, but not Marta Sillas, because the sector said, okay, the theory great, but now we have to go and put it into practice. Well, January 2019, we didn't have the degree on pescatourism. So we thought that we should be doing a project that could be defended. So we trust that this decree will be approved, and so afterwards we could have this third project, Marta Sillas 3. This was a more versatile project that allowed us to make more progresses in these touristic projects. So first, we designed protocols for all the marine tourism activities and pescatourism and public attention activities in a common basic language, in plain language, so that everybody could understand the safety rules for going on board, and also for taking into account disabled people. And we cooperated with people with diverse disabilities, and I want to thank the people who worked with us for this to be possible. And of course, another thing which is fundamental for us, and especially a protocol now towards COVID-19 that we incorporated for us to adapt ourselves to this new situation. We organized a new advanced course for tourist guides, and we trained other group, and 44% women. And we keep on working with certified guides. They ask us to complete their projects, and they participate mentoring their projects, defining their interpreting projects, and made a business plan, decide the price, the investment, the authorizations, the licenses, to have in mind everything that is needed for starting up this enterprise. And out of all the projects, we choose 6 that we thought that were nice for as pilot projects, and we have 3 Pescatourism projects and 2 with shellfishing, and the other one for general one. Javier Costas, you also know him with his sustainable fishing project. This is the most advanced one. They've also received funding from the flag of the Vigo RIA, so they can invest in the activity, and it will be the one that will be the captain for our visit tomorrow. Severino Casal, Nuria, they are shellfish catchers, and they are our guides for the San Simon estuary, the basin of the Ria, the Vigo, which is high in heritage. We also have here Rebeca Gago and José Manuel Agulla. There weren't they couldn't keep on working with their vessel, so now he is working in marine tourism, and he is the guide of Bueu and showing the facilities, the harbor market, the fish market and is this really wonderful. We also have here another project of San Xenxo, and it's the captain of Playa de San Xenxo. We can see how octopus is being captured, and we can also go to Ons Island to see a selective capture of bigger fishes. They are the guides from Pobrado Caramiñal, from the north of the Arousa Ria, and we have here Eduardo, which is the one on the floating beds for cultivating mussels. And he can use the floating bed for the mussel as a boat. So we like to thank all of them for their cooperation, and we like to congratulate them because they are really the results of the project, and we really hope that they will keep on working, implementing their initiatives, as there are always people who want numbers. We have here the numbers for you to see. So you can see that investment is almost 100,000 euro, and the results were 178 people, almost 200 trained people, almost 40% women who were trained in pescatourism and marine tourism. 21 projects that uh, uh, have become activities that can start anytime. And especially, we also have the material results, guides, codes, protocols, manuals that are in the website. And I hope that with this, we can close this project, but there are some opening sessions for the communities, and I hope that this will close a stage, a period, and we will open a new one. So we won't have a fourth project.
Now we have some international presentations. We are going to contact with Diana Fava. Diana is the president of the National Association of Pescatur in Italy. Hello, Jana. Good afternoon. How are you? No, 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 no. Así no podemos interpretar, ¿eh?
Mi occupo di turismo. Sono presidente dell'Associazione Nazionale Tour che da più di 17 anni sviluppa. Diciamo che a livello italiano il pescaturismo rappresenta.
In Italy, Pescatourism represents a series of important activities developed within the framework of coastal fisheries, and this is also happening in other countries of the Mediterranean area. These activities have a great development potential. Pescatourism started with Law 41 of 17 February 1982, and within the scope of this law, they started talking about the preservation of resources, and some processes were started. More specifically, Article 27 of this law says or talks about the possibilities of getting pescatourism forward. It talks about the crew and the people who can be on board the vessels as tourists. Within the framework of this law, there are some disadvantages that can be mentioned, and they have to do with the fact that there are no fishermen aged over 14. This could be one of the weaknesses. Also, pescatourism is carried out only during the day and in the summer period, and also the costs of bringing the vessel into line with the law were greater than the potential earnings, as the age limit imposed prevented families and school children from being able to access the service. As for the motivations, we should highlight getting income and complement income from just apart from just the primary activity. Also for safeguard resources and maintaining jobs. This could be some of the motivations that justify this practice. Then also a subsequent improvement of the law is from 1998, and it offers some strengths or advantages. We could say that different modalities of pescatourism can be carried out, and we are starting to see here who, how, and when, and how can it be carried out, who can carry it out, and when it can be carried out. We also talk about safety and other issues, including also different fishing gears, especially trawling systems. Also, there's a weakness, which is as the excursion only can be during the day and no more than 3 miles can be covered. In 1999, there was a new ministerial decree, number 293, which is still valid nowadays, in force, and it offers many strengths with regard to the previous legislation. For example, it can be carried out throughout the year, night and day, but during the period from the 1st of November to the 3rd of April, there are structures in the event of wind and rain, in case there are some weather conditions that prevent the activity from being carried out. As for nighttime excursions, it is not necessary to have accommodation arrangements similar to those of the crew. Another important strength could be that children under 14 are also allowed to board if they are accompanied by an adult. Always they have to be with an adult. We have then a quite complete law. We've seen it took 19 long years to introduce a regulation in line with the requirements of the operator, and that could permit the to meet the requirements of the European Union. Then there is a legislation concerning agritourism, and it also covers some areas of fisheries, and it brings together marine tourism with agritourism. So it puts at the same level both types of tourism. It is called ecotourism. It's a new concept created within the scope of this legislation, and it means including accommodation and food at the house of the fisherman. So the activities related to fisheries can be promoted. And they can also be other premises belonging to the family or the fisherman. We have some images here which are examples of, well, the first ecotourism offering night hospitality and breakfast, accommodation and breakfast. They offer all these services. And the name is Isola Antica. These activities are regulated by regions in Italy with a specific legislation. The municipality must give authorizations, for example, habitability requirements. The authorities are going, the municipal authorities are the ones giving these permits. And we are talking about the accommodation requirements, the sanitary requirements, height and volume of the rooms, for example, warranty accessibility, no architectural barriers, and all of this has to be observed within this framework. We have some advantages or strength offered by these activities. For example, the fisherman can use his own house and he can provide meals based on local products to the tourists. And then there are some weaknesses. In pescatourism, it's not part of professional fishing, what is considered legally as professional fishing. The procedures to incorporate a company are very slow. So this is a weakness for those fishermen who want to start up this kind of business. Then there is also a lack of professional figures, people who are trained for these, and also there is inadequate administrative and fiscal knowledge. Therefore, we need to take into account that when we were talking about the initial motivations, that there has been an evolution of those motivations that affect the figure of fishermen, and these activities are especially to prevent young people from being forced out of the sector, for instance. Also, to find work for fishermen's wives and partners. Another motivation is that the historical memory of fishermen is recovered, and the it enhances the value of the fishing entrepreneur's role in society. The activity of active tourism involves a new concept, which is the experimental tourism, where the tourist has the opportunity of trying, of touching, of testing, and not just seeing the fishing activity. It has also an emotional component. We are talking again about legislation. The legislative decree number 4 of the 9th of January 2012, as amended by the law of the 7th of August 12, number 134, and the strengths are that the pescatourism and ecotourism are part of professional fishing and are not services related to fishing. And also, there is a tax rate of 10% applied instead of 22%. So this tax is reduced from 22 to 10%. And as for the weaknesses, we would say that the legislation is quite fragmented. There are too many elements and texts. So fishermen cannot have a clear view of the legal requirements that they have to observe. There is not just one single text, but there are so many texts, and that makes bureaucracy a little bit difficult. And within the framework of this evolution of motivations, we could talk also about some activities that can be related to the promotion of blue economy. This also promotes sustainable development, environmental education, food education, and the promotion of local products. It improves the health of people because they know how to eat. Also, there is a promotion of local foods, and therefore, I would say that pescatourism and ecotourism are pillars of the sustainable development because they generate food, employment, income, and culture. And also gastronomic culture, that would be within the food area. And I'm going to show you now this graph that shows the concept of sustainable development within pescatourism. I could say that sustainability, the environmental sustainability, is reached through the activity of pescatourism, and therefore we are contributing to the preservation of resources. So, as I said, when you get all this knowledge about how fishermen live, how they work, this means that we are reinforcing the concept of the culture of fisheries, and this is very important, especially when we talk about the evolution of this process. As for the sustainability, social sustainability, it is generated. Some jobs are created for young people, for women, for people who are a little bit older and it's more difficult for them to find a job. And we could say that pescatourism is one of the activities that are beneficial for all the parties. It is a win-win situation. Then, as for the organization of boats, in the past, the boats were very simple because they were only used for fishing. And now they have become very welcoming, comfortable, and function vessels. They are very well organized and they are convenient. And here you see a boat that had no kitchen, no toilet, no equipment at all. And we can see the evolution of this type of vessels or boats because now it has a boarding gangway, fixed or mobile awning, and a series of improvements are implemented. Also, they installed a stove, a sink with a stainless steel basing, and also a toilet. You can cook, actually cook in the kitchen, and there is also that small restroom. And nowadays also, water is saved thanks to a dishwasher, for example. Another thing that is worth noting is that the restroom is connected to a tank to collect the wastewater. These are systems that didn't exist in the past. As you saw in the picture, also in some cases the engine is replaced by a new one that has low emissions of polluting substances and green gas effects. That's also an advance towards sustainable development, and also the arrangement of waste with organic waste, plastic, paper, glass, and aluminum separated on board the vessel. So all the waste can be separated and recycled. And this is part of the essence of pescatourism. It's environmental education, which is a significant part of this activity. As for the modernization of fishing boats, we could say that the European Maritime and Fisheries Fund made a call from 2014 to 2020 by which many boats have improved their structure. In the case of Sardinia, about 30 boats. And these subsidies have helped the boats to improve their infrastructure. Here we have a case of a boat, and we see how it was in the past. And the owner was a little bit ashamed of it, but look at it after restyling it. This is how it looks on May 2020. You see the cover, the on the deck, the ceiling, and it has changed a lot. Improvements have been great. And here we have another image of the deck before restyling with different elements, quite damaged, to be honest. Also the panel, the board. Here we see the works carried out to restyle it. This is how some elements were removed, modified, like the engine. Here we see some works carried out on the deck. A new deck was installed with new wood. and they changed the color. And finally, as for safety of the people on board, these elements that are installed, they improve or increase the safety conditions for those tourists who are going to take part in those tourist activities. For example, this other boat has a kitchen, as you can see in the image. We can also see how the switchboard would be, and it looks completely different. And this is uh, how the boat was used in the summer of 2020 with some clients, for example, as you can see in this picture, who were enjoying the boat. What else? We have two organizations, the Pescatur and the Flags, which with the SSO, which is the southwestern Sardinia, and the Flag SO, which is eastern Sardinia, and they are working together to boost entrepreneurs on pescatourism and to support the tourist agents who are specializing in these practices. The works that are being carried out have to do with quality, with renewable energy, with sustainable development, and the promotion of services. In Italy, we published a document about the best practices of COVID-19 on the pescatourism and ecotourism. It is in Italian. And it includes the best practices to be followed by the different agents and stakeholders when preventing infections on board and fighting against coronavirus. As for the organization on board and sustainable development, we said that it's part of the different aspects related to blue economy, and the need of restyling the fishing boats would be within this concept. The search for the diversification of the socioeconomic activities to improve the situation of fishermen in the coastal areas. We also have another image here with another boat that was restyled. It's called New Antonina 2. As you can see, there was a bridge installed. And a series of initiatives and actions to contribute on environmental sustainability. We have also more images of this boat. There is a kitchen, there is suction hood, and different health and safety conditions that are being boosted. And through these actions, we also have other images of the restroom of this boat. As you can see, the deck is dismantled and it is completely changed, and we have a brand new boat, which is No Antonina, and it offers this. This is how it looks on June 2020. It has been completely improved, and the emissions have been reduced. and we keep promoting environmental sustainability and sustainable development. We have more images of how this boat looks right now. We see how this kitchen was also installed with this new dishwash, water purified oven fryer, suction hood, so you can cook what was caught during the fishing trip, and it can be fresher. Then, as I said, there is a dishwasher, a water purifier, so savings again are promoted, so water is saved when used on board. And also there is something also important that are solar panels. This was started last winter, and again we are saving resources. All of this is part of this restyling, and it also includes the installation of the panels, the solar panels, to get energy and power for the vessel, not just from polluting substances, but also we get power from the sun. So Nova Antonina is the first blue economy boat in Sardinia, but also in Italy. And it is very important because it contributes to the protection of the sea. And therefore to the protection of the environment and to the promotion and boosting of environmental development. As for business organization and training, to carry out this activity, Italian regions are the ones that organize through the national law on agrotourism these types of activities based on pescatourism and ecotourism with regional laws. They are based on the national law, as I said, and they give the possibility for the flags to organize the training of staff. This training involves 220 hours of face-to-face lessons and internships. And the topics covered are the territory and fish resources, regulations on pescatourism and ecotourism, promotion of the offer, promotion of the hospitality and welcome, hygiene and hazard prevention at work, job security, and also they learn English. Here we see different pictures of these courses and training. In 2012, in Pescatourism, there was 87 boats, and by 2020, this number has increased to 90 boats. So we could say that the number of boats is stable in pescatourism. And then when we talk about ecotourism, by 2012, we had 13 boats. And only 4 years later, there were 18, and in 2020, 35. So there has been a quite important and significant growth since 2016 until 2020. So the trend, it is an upward trend. These activities are quite strong nowadays, and as I said, they are within the initiatives that we are following. Then we have other business initiatives that are part of marine tourism and pescatourism. They are restaurants such as I Pirati Sardi, Su Judeu. They are also La Pescheria, I Due Fratelli. These are some restaurants that were created as a result of marine tourism and pescatourism. So they have some areas that are open, others are inside, there are patios, and there you have a wide range of gastronomic services linked to marine and pescatourism, as we said. Also, it's important to know that in Sardinia there are some activities, aquaculture activities, or that, well, throughout history there were some aquaculture activities and farms, and in this case, you can see in the image that they are using a former aquaculture farm in this area near to Capo Malfadano, and it also offers a different experience for tourists to be in contact with the species, the fishermen, the environment, and everything that has to do with the fishing activity. In our opinion, we could say that pescatourism and ecotourism are very important activities for the economic development of the fishing community, protection of the territory and the species, a major evaluation of the local cultural biodiversity. Also, to increase the evaluation of cultural biodiversity, as I said, not just the zoological one, but also the cultural one. So a person who decides to try marine and pescatourism will have all these advantages and benefits. So I'd like to say thank you very much and see you soon in Sardinia. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Diana, for your presentation.
Here we are, and we will be listening to Azores Island in Portugal, Luis Manuel de Ramos Rodrigues, Director General of Fisheries of the Autonomous Region of Azores. Good afternoon. I don't know, I'm very happy. I hope that you are listening to me and you can see the screen with my slides. First of all, I'd like to thank Marta Sillas. Thank you very much for your invitation. I'd like to congratulate the organization group of this event. I think it is very interesting, and I think that the presentations were very interesting, and I really liked them. And it is always a pleasure for me to share and to share with you the experiences that we have developed in Azores. So I started working in Pescatourism in 2000, 2001. I used to work in local-led, well, community-led communities with fishing communities. And since that moment on, I was more and more related to this world from a wider view. We, so we we've seen that this activity has a lot to say about environment, about social cohesion, about sustainability. I am convinced that pescatourism and marine tourism are undoubtedly part of a blue economy, and I think they are one of the more with a higher potential for the future. I started working in local development, and I started working in the activity of pescatourism as an initiative to protect, to give value to the fishing heritage and because I thought that there was heritage linked to fishing in Azores that was going to be lost. And I thought that pesca tourism was a way to valorize the heritage. And I like to highlight two special initiatives, such as, for example, the identification of the oldest boat in Azores, and we converted into a tourism support vessel. So we transform it into that vessel. And it was very, very old vessel, the one we are talking about. And in that time, pesca tourism wasn't even coined. It was just an initiative for people who want to have experiences in the sea, in the fishing, and so that the first Azores fishing vessels could be used for that. You also have a picture in the slide that illustrates the building of museums. So we created small units, small models in fishing communities to support the fishermen. These units were developed in the beginning as an ethnographic interest center, but they were developed into new incubators for new activities. For example, as fishermen associations, artisanal crafts, people, they were just getting together in those houses, and these houses were also used to support tourism. So these were the first projects which were led by the community. I was working in a very small association, the Azores Maritime Association, and they were working in the 9 small towns of the Azores, and we were focused on dignify fishing and fisheries communities. The projects of the museum and the recovery of the vessel were called tide change, and we had a project, equal project, and this was linked to other communities in Spain. And we also had, for example, people from Italy that already had regulation in this area. So with our partners from Italy, back then, and I'm talking about 20 years ago, we started working in regulating pescatourism. And that was the first view that I had about this maritime fishing tourism. Afterwards, in one of the common fisheries policies reform, and I'm sure that you've already seen many other reforms about the fisheries policy, the common fisheries policy, but you can see here in the slide the moment of the big discussion about the common fisheries policy, which is one of the big consultation that is done to build up policy. And the discussion was based on a book divided into two parts. In the first one, there was a characterization of all the European fisheries sector, and in the second part, there were inviting the people involved in the sector to answer some questions. Why am I telling you this? Well, because in this green paper, or green book, in this first part, there was a description with figures that really drew my attention to. And I was really concerned, and I will tell you specifically why. Because they said that 88% of the fisheries resources of the seas were overexploited. So this means that almost 90% of the species being caught in Europe are being caught at a faster speed than the one that is needed for the sea to recover itself. That's the first thing that really drew my attention. And then there was also the risk of collapse of some species or stocks. These are really alarming facts. This is not only an environmental problem or economic and social problem. It is an ethical problem regarding environment. We must know what we want from the sea and from the ocean in the future, for future generations. So it is very important that each of us think of their contribution towards the advocacy of the sea resources from Europe. It is very important to fish less and to earn more for this fishing. And we see fishing not only as an exploitation of products, but as well, we are really using the sea very badly as a bin, a garbage bin. You can see here, for example, a picture, well, and there are many pictures about this other problem, a big issue about the waste that goes to the sea. And it is not only plastic what I'm referring to. There are also toxic substances, such as, for example, drugs, antidepressants, antibiotics, a very big amount of chemical substances that go into the sea. And when this big discussion took place, I thought that Pescatourism could support environment by disseminating this alarm, but by raising awareness. So I thought that these kind of initiatives could also help towards dissemination of sustainable values. Thus, for example, that's why this house, this museum, could spread the basic rules that could help us to protect the sea. So, as I was working with pescatourism in the first place as a way of promoting heritage, then I realized that pescatourism could have a second role as an initiative to protect seas and to protect the ocean. However, I was wondering why we are misusing the sea resources in this way. Because the sea, the oceans, are the main resources of the planet. We take water and oxygen from the sea, from the ocean. So why are we behaving like that? Well, first, because the sea doesn't get to the schools. Another reason is that the sea resources are not visible. A big fire, forest fire, can open some TV news, but boat is not opening it. So the boat is invisible, the sea is invisible. Those resources are everybody's resources, so they are nobody's resources. So it is very, very hard to commit the sea users to really respect it. When I wonder about this misuse that we are actually implementing of the seas, that's one of the reasons, as I said. When I speak to captains, to owners, to fishermen, I do the following thing. I ask them to show me the country in 2-3 minutes. And until now, and I've been doing this exercise or this, well, I'm sorry, I'm not asking them to show me, but to draw to me. And they They draw the country, the land, and sometimes the islands, but they don't represent the sea, because the sea doesn't belong to our imaginary. The people think of the land. They never think of the sea as part of their country. So that's another reason why we misuse the sea so badly. So that's why we are oppressing the sea, and in Azores we have many projects of raising awareness so that people get literate in ocean wise, because we think it is very important to educate and to empower people so that they get trained, they are professionals, and we are always trying to make the sea visible, such as, for example, by pescatourism. And pescatourism is seen not as a promotion of heritage, as I said before, or as a way of pr- protecting the sea and the environment. In here, it is an initiative to give the sea back to their citizens. So make a door into the sea, make a way into the sea so that everybody can go and experience the ocean. When I speak about these issues, and for you who are attending this initiative and following my presentation of here in Mar das Illas, I have here another map apart from the map of Portugal. You can also see the map of Azores, of the islands, on the right. With this map, my goal is for you to see that, for example, the islands are 9 points in yellow, just in the middle of the ocean. And the fact of us living in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean doesn't guarantee us many fish, much fish. We don't really have a lot of fishes, but we do have sea. Why? Because the fish needs light, and the sea at Azores is really deep, so it's very dark back there. So there are not many fish can be found there. So we know that we should be especially worried about the waste that goes into the sea. And the pescatourism is a way to give the sea, the ocean, back to the citizens. And in this way, with the pescatourism, we can give the sea to citizens so that the people include the sea into their imaginary. In the next slide, I will be showing you artisanal fishing, sustainable fishing, which characterizes our fishing. We don't have big trawls. We have small boats fishing. So they are smaller than 2 meters long. And when we are invited to this new reality of the fishing with technology, with new scenarios that are within the blue economy, the fishing should be able to appropriate and own these challenges, to make them their own. It is an old activity that comes from the times of the discoveries of the new lands. And it is very important, of course, to protect the past and the history, but we have in the future challenges and opportunities, and tourism is an opportunity. And here, tourism and pescatourism gives a new perspective about how can fishing be in cooperation with other activities so that they can take advantage from the challenges, and they can, so that I can have bigger earnings and bigger incomes and working less at the same time. So this new perspective addresses fishing as one of the pieces that, working together with tourism, with sports, with other activities, pescatourism can really give profitability and income to fishing. Here you can also see an iceberg on the right. This tries to represent that many times when we see fishing, we just see a part, just a tiny part, but they have a lot of values. There are a lot of values in fishing. So how can we do together with other people to work together so that we can create new complementary incomes to fishing and alternative activities? In this slide, I am sharing with you some of the initiatives that we are implementing in the Azores Islands. We not only mean boarding, as it was said before. Here you can see that the students from a training course, a cooking course, they are visiting a harvest market. And these are the future big cooks, and they are the ones that can really convey the message to the users. So we want to reach the tourists through the cooks so that we can convey this message of sustainability, of a good relationship to the sea by tourism was done directly to the cooks. And we are working with all the vocational training programs and the future representatives of the restaurants of Azores so that they can also give this message to their people eating at the restaurants. You can also see in the second image these 4 people from Fishing at the Island initiative. this initiative, in each of the 9 islands of Azores, we identify a product, a fishing product, and we wanted that fishing product to project and valorize the island, and the island to the product. So in every island, we were researching and we were doing production, management, and restoration. And in a very nice atmosphere during the summer parties, we invited these 4 actors to speak about these sea products. And people attending those initiatives were tourists, were immigrants that were coming back to the islands. So these are different. Well, as I say, this initiative has several products, each by every island, and we had a flash mob too. There was a big party, a big summer party, a crowded party, and suddenly they were reflecting about the fishing activity, the importance of the fishing activities, and the people taking part in that activity were the tourists that were there around, especially. And the other image that you can see is the one of a fisherman with a fish. And it was about pescatourism and what it means in this convivial atmosphere. It is not also for tourists or people from abroad. It can also be an added value for people from Azores, people that had never gone into the sea. They don't know how to catch a fish. So we invited all people, all citizens from Azores to go inside a fishing vessel and to take part in this activity. We have many fishermen working in pescatourism. We've seen an increase in the number of permits, and during the last time, there wasn't any task to promote this activity and to have an incentive so that during the COVID period, the people from Azores could enjoy this experience of going into the sea on a vessel and to have this day experience about fishing. As the Italian presenter said before, here you can see that fish that is being caught, 2 kilos, can go to the tourist, and the rest goes to the harbor's market. So, and also the captain can have, or the owner, the ship's owner can have a partnership with a restaurant and can also go there to the markets, the harbor's market, and prepare the fish and also consume it in the restaurant. The last image in this slide is a group of people, because we had visits from people from Italy, from Spain. During the last 3 years, we try to implement the community-led local development, and finally we could regulate the flags. And I was learning so much in this meeting in the Mar das Ilhas, we are very new in this experience about community-led local development. The first flags were created not very long ago, and when we created them, when we were preparing those partnerships with the actors and the representatives of the territories, we organized a big conference that we called Socioeconomical Fishing Forum, and the goal was to promote the initiatives of local development with the contributions of the flags. And I think that we can also, well, see the projects that were created back then, and that they could have a consequence in the Azores. And actually, nowadays, they've been developed through the flags, and thanks to that help. And that was all that I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much for this opportunity to share with with you what was done. We think that pescatourism is can be the advocacy of heritage, the advocacy of oceans and sea resources, to give the sea to the people, and also about creating alternative profitability and income for fishing, and trying to dignify fishing and the fishing community, which is in which we are all looking at. So that's it. Thank you.
And now we are going to speak with Jose Martinez, who is the CEO of Pescatourism Spain. Good afternoon, Pepe. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Thank you very much for having me, and this is a very, very important congress, and I think we are learning a lot from it. Pescatourism is a technological company based in Mallorca, but we are working all around Spain. We work in Mallorca, Menorca, in Galicia. We collaborate with fisherwomen in Carril, Redondela, in Cambados. We are also helping a boat in Burela. Also in the Canary Islands, there are two boats about to start working. In Andalusia, they have a lot of interest also. We are going to start to work with fishermen from Huelva, Ayamonte, Punta Umbría. So we have a global view of how pescatourism is working, both at the level of the maritime authorities and commercial, from a commercial point of view. So this is our philosophy, which is that the fisherman doesn't have to do anything else than fishing. So we organize with the authorities all the area of adapting the boats. Each maritime authority is different. Some of them are going to help you a lot, and others will put a lot of problems. Because the royal decree can be interpreted in different ways. So you need a lot of time sometimes to get the licenses. In other cases, it's very quick. So it will depend. It will depend. Then there is a second part, which is the commercialization of the trips through a website. We create the contents of the trips and then we commercialize them. For example, in Mallorca last year, we had more than 300 excursions or trips in 2019 with fishermen. There were around 1,000 tourists from 20 different countries. So this is an activity that is not so known, but in other countries like Switzerland, Austria, they know a lot about it. So and it's increasing, and we are committed to a different way of doing tourism, which breaks the borders and barriers between the traveler and the local community. Nowadays, the most important thing is the activities you can carry out at the area where you are. So you decide, okay, I'm going to this place because I can do this and that and that. Pescatourism activities are very enriching for the traveler. And it creates memories and links with the fishermen. And you can live a day at the sea and see how they fish, and that's what tourists are looking for. Also, we are looking for a sustainable and responsible tourist model. We don't want the boats to be adapted or the fishermen to adapt to the tourists. We want the tourists to adapt to the fishermen. I mean, it's great adjusting the boats and fixing them, but they need to continue fishing. The tourist is the one who needs to adapt to the fishermen, or it wouldn't be authentic, of course. This involves reducing the fishing efforts because it's going to be more profitable for fishermen to they are going to get the same profit. The fish that is not caught today will be there the following day, so they can still fish it. And also, the new generations are also going to join a sector that is getting quite old. With this profession, the people don't want to be fishermen anymore. They don't want to live this hard and tough life. They are looking for their jobs. So this new way of doing tourism is helping for the younger people in the family to join the business in the sector. The marine culture cannot be understood without all of this, because fishermen, sorry, the marine and pescatourism sectors are helping to get to know how everything works at the sea, to value all the work that these fishermen are carrying out, and people can really value these jobs. And also for fishermen, it's very important because they see how their job is valued, and that people care about them. As I said, the Maritime Authority is essential to carry out this activity. You need their permission. And we have an international multi-platform, and every fisherman is different. So we have some fishermen who fish for 5 hours, others for 8 hours. So once we get a request, we talk to the fishermen and we proposed different types of excursions, and we upload them to the website. And there is a very simple system. And so the fishermen can put in this schedule their availability. Maybe they won't fish tomorrow because they have to fix something on the boat, or they are on holidays or whatever. So they give their availability, and we fill in different languages the type of excursion. And then we also talk to hotels, restaurants. We give all the information for people to organize their excursions and trips online. It is a very easy system. It's the same one used with Club Mediterranean. So we have people from South Korea, from Italy. It's a system that they know, so they just fill in the data, the details, and they just buy the excursions. In some areas, the ports are very small, so we have a link with Google Plus, so the tourists can exactly find the vessel in the port. And all of this, apart from the website, we have direct communication with the tourists via WhatsApp, on the phone, anything they need. We work with German people from Austria, because sometimes we just book from one day to the other, or with just 1 week in advance. But for example, German people book 6 months in advance what they're going to do during their holidays. For example, today we got a booking for May, and maybe during May there is not good weather for that trip, and maybe we can change it. So we are available to change, to fix, so the fisherman does not need to do anything. So you receive your reservation, your booking, and you have your contact details, the contact details of the fisherman, the time of departure, the place, and the week before the trip, there is a reminder for both the client and the fisherman. And if there is any change that needs to be made, we are all the time communicating with both parties, because the weather is very tricky and it depends on the season. We also manage the invoices. We put together all the trips during 1 month, and then we pay them all the trips together. How can we do this? Well, we have worked a lot on SEO. So people, when people look for anything related to pescatourism, we get the information. We are the ones who appear first. And for example, in Germany in October, they have holidays at school. So Germans are preparing their holidays. So when they start looking for a trip to Pontevedra, for example, these options will appear about the trips they can do, and we also work on SEM, on social media. We also have videos on YouTube with tourists. We have a blog. We have more than 500,000 views. We all are also in the press, and pescatourism is highly valued abroad. So we've been called from foreign media, for example, to know what's going on in Spain with pescatourism. We have some interviews in different platforms, magazines, newspapers. There is this TV show called Mi Familia en la Mochila, where they went on a trip with fishermen, with this family that was so amazed about it. They didn't know about pescatourism, and last year we were in Africa, and this year, because of the COVID, we are in Spain. So kids had never seen how fish are caught, how the nets work. Then they had never been in such a place like this wonderful area. They swam on the sea. The kids fished. So this is completely new for them. So there is an educational part, there is a fun part, leisure. Also last year we were on the BBC, in the RAI, in Italian television. So we have covered a lot of media and in Mallorca. Well, so I tried to summarize what we are doing. I would like to thank you, and finally I would like to tell you also that we got different awards. One at Fitur about responsible tourism, and in the Balearic areas also. There they have very good tourist products, but this pescatourism activity was the best one. So, in spite of the problems posed by the maritime authorities or all the bureaucracy, all the documentation process, I encourage fishermen to try, because in Galicia you have amazing flags. Take their support, get the training. And you know that limits to fisheries are higher and higher, but compensating the decrease of income from fisheries with pescatourism is a very good, interesting option. in Vigo, in Galicia, you have fishing groups that work very well. They are very professional, so I really encourage you to do it, even if it takes time and bureaucracy. But I really encourage you to do it. Uh, Thank you very much.
So here we have the last panelist of this conference, Rita Vidal, was a very good student of the project, and she has also implemented the experience with her colleagues of Carril. She's also the president of the Women's Working Group at the National Federation of Fishermen and Women Association. She will be speaking about Mar de Carril. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Rita Vidal. I am the president manager of Amar Carril, vice president of the Association of Fishermen and Women in Carril. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers, the people watching us online, and thank you for inviting us to talk about Amar Carril. My presentation, I will be speaking about women who are struggling for being visible, and also thanks to our mothers and our grandmothers. And we try to follow their steps. We are shellfish catchers, and this is a fight which started when we wanted to belong to a group of shellfishers, and we worked as shellfish catchers. During the first days, we noticed that there were many visitors or neighbors from neighbor towns and villages. They were interested in our work, what is that tool, what that is for, what is that for, but we couldn't really talk to them because time is very important. It was, we just have some time until the tide went up again. So that was when Amar Carril was born. My friends and mates, we commit ourselves to take our ancestors' steps. We didn't have nurseries. We were there on the sand with our grandmothers and mothers that couldn't actually be met, that promise, but the fate led us to our place again, to the Carril Sea, and which also means amar Carril. It means to love Carril. Carril, the clam's paradise. It is very well known, the clam from this small town. Fishermen and fisherwomen who taught us a lot with their hands that really transmit their effort, and they really conveyed their passion. So we integrated all together into this group of shellfish catchers, and we could see this lack of knowledge by the visitors. Then we It was very, very hard to do all the administration procedures. We did all on our own. We were asking. We had a digital signature, everything, and we finally got the association, and we made our work visible. These are my colleagues. We belong to the Women Local Council. We go to all the congresses, conferences. We also belong to the Women's Fishing Federation. We are always there. When there is women and fishing, we are there always. And we are also in Mar de Illas, of course. So our criteria of selection are integration with functional diversity groups, diversification of activities, gender equality, sustainability, employment creation. There are many people that are not properly trained. And what we do is to advise, these are the courses, this is the training, this is the point so that you can get a call and so on. So we guide them. These are our goals: to raise awareness about the history of the Carril farmers, the clam farmers and the shell fishing women. We are speaking about all the people, all the Galician shellfish catchers, to give value and promote our products, to diversify the shell fishing activity, and to raise awareness about the shellfish catching profession, to promote the respect towards the environment and the marine environment, especially to guide the shellfisher and to improve the working opportunities. We have French, Italian, Braille, Chinese, Spanish. We are going to be in Netflix too. These are the traditional farming, our farms actually, where we do our activities about clam catching. The first kind of activities are the workshops for families. We promote respect towards the environment. We explain the administrative management, the use of tools, the suits that we use, the traceability, marketability, how to seed, how to the predators, the kinds of clams, the features of each species. We also realized that many activities about tourism have borders, and we wanted to go beyond, to break those borders. So we train ourselves in inclusive tourism so that we could work with blind people, with disabled people, with autism, with Down syndrome people. And it was really successful because we were really learning from them, from our tourists. Here we are working with the National Spanish Association of Blind People, also with the Autism Association in Spain. And autism people pay attention to drawings, pictures, and videos so that they could learn by playing. We also have workshops for schools, for play centers. Then we thought that maybe people from the countryside, which were far away from the sea, they couldn't enjoy it. So we went to them and we showed everything to them. And a child from Madrid knows what a clam or a cockle is. So no. So we went to Madrid, we were showing them and presenting them our talks that we were usually doing them by the sea. We were doing them at their schools. Also, we also have Erasmus workshops. We didn't have any kind of activities like that this year due to COVID, but they come to listen to our history, and they also want to taste the clam. So we also have this taste activities. So we cooperate with the restaurants, and so they go to the restaurants, the local restaurants, after the workshop. We also offer training and guides, not only about the boat, just going on a boat. So what we do is to take profit, take advantage from those 2 times a year that when the inhabitants from Cortegada, from Carril, as they used to do many years ago, can cross the Ria, the estuary, and go towards this island, Cortegada, by walking. So we recreated this and shared the story of the oldest inhabitants of that island. We did many other activities, such as, for example, this one about the 3 R's, about recycling, reusing, and reduce. We were also recognized by the Ministry of the Environment about inclusiveness and equal opportunities. We received this prize in the Congress about women in Gijón. These are the tastes. After working, we go there to the restaurant and we help the people in the bar to serve them. So, what about disseminating our passion? We explain this is a rake, this is a clam. Well, normally the smallest children don't understand. So we came up with this idea of marisquinha. And with Marisquinha, with this drawing of this personage of a girl, she tells the story. Her mother was a shellfish catcher, also her grandmother, and they really like it and talked to her by the PowerPoint, and they really like it, and Marisquinha answers them. As next year is the Jacobeo, the Jubilee year. So Marisquinha is going to do the way and follow the way to Santiago. And it is where, because it is said that Cortegada, Santiago was there, and we hope that we will be successful. And thank you very much. I hope that you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you.
We are about to finish. We would like to apologize for the delay. We are at the end of this Congress. I know we are a little bit delayed, but I hope you had enjoyed all the speeches. After the end, I would ask you, those of you who are here, remain so we can give you some instructions for the activity tomorrow. And now I'd like to introduce the person who is going to close the session. He's the president of the Mar Seguros of Galicia, José Manuel. Good afternoon. Those of you who are here and those of you who are online. We are at the end of this Congress that has given us an idea of marine and pescatourism both in Spain and Europe for our local initiatives. I would like to call your attention on several aspects that were tackled and also some questions that I received. And they especially talk about the development of the projects of my colleagues. Royal Decree 239 2019 regulates these activities, and it was a step forward to provide a legal framework for these activities in autonomous communities that nowadays don't have specific regulations. In spite of the importance of this royal decree, I must say that it also involved a closure for the activity because it left many boats outside. In other autonomous communities, they are already working and operating. When you see boats under 8 meters that can only have 2 people on board, 2 tourists, when they could have 4, in this case is the consideration of the length of the boat has left outside boats of my own guild, and the number of tourists is reduced, and therefore it's not profitable. That's why the sector considers that there is a solution, but they are always closing opportunities, except for some cases, of course. So, I'm quite nervous, sorry. We would like to ask the General Directorate of the Merchant Navy to listen to the demands of the sector and review the royal decree, because without reducing security, we can give access to more tourists on board. Also, I would like to thank our autonomous community, which has supported this project to promote a regional legislation for these activities. And finally, I would like to remind you that this project started to reduce the fishing efforts on the area of the Atlantic islands. Nowadays, the boats in areas are the first ones that started this activity. I would like to highlight the importance of this project for the fisheries sector.